From The Australian, here's what's on the front. I'm Kristen Amiot. It's Monday, September 15, 2025. The Coalition has recorded its lowest primary vote in the history of Newspoll, a week after Senator Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price was sacked for her controversial comments about Indian migrants. The approval rating of opposition leader Susan Lee has also slumped, while Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is riding high with the biggest two-party preferred vote since Labor won government. The former CEO of Westpac says the government's big superannuation tax shouldn't go ahead in its current form. Lindsay Maxted says the plan would be a knock to business investment, which the Labor Party is relying on to boost productivity. You can read those stories right now at theaustralian.com.au. It's the next chapter in a dementia love story. Today, The Australian's Louise Bryant opens up about the privilege of caring for her partner, who was diagnosed with early onset dementia in his 40s, and the clarity that comes with a definitive diagnosis. Plus, as dementia takes the lead as our nation's biggest killer, The Australian and our friends at news.com.au are launching a new series about its impact and why prevention is so important in our shared future. Louise Bryant is the managing editor of The Australian and News Corp Australia's prestige titles Vogue and GQ. As a high-flying media executive, she's one of the busiest people in our Surrey Hills office, if not the publishing world. She's also incredibly considerate and has been known to appear at our desks with a box of gorgeous croissants at exactly the right moment. But Louise has been living another life at home with her partner Craig, who was diagnosed with early onset dementia a decade ago, aged 46. She calls him Moose.
Moose and I met in a very typical Aussie setting at the local swimming club, and we fell in love and have lived a very happy life. Moose is somebody who's so mischievous and so full of fun and a real lover of life, and we've had a really lovely life together.
Yeah, I get that vibe from the words that you've written in The Australian, the words that our colleague Fiona Harari has written, but even from the nickname Moose. I feel like you can't be a moose and be a bad time.
That's right. And I think in the community, everybody knows Moose, and a lot of people know Moose by name, but probably didn't know that he had dementia.
Louise first shared the story of Moose's diagnosis and how they've navigated it together with The Australian's Fiona Harari about a year ago.
And when I walked up to the local grocer to buy the print edition on the Saturday, I bumped into a number of neighbours and friends, and many were visibly quite moved. They'd read the story and many had known Moose by name but didn't know that he had dementia. So it was a really powerful story, and I think it was a love story, but it was also a story about dementia that was told very differently.
The reception at work has been similarly warm.
Of course, I've had some incredible support from my colleagues. I always think, though, everyone's got something going on, and perhaps this story might have resonated and was relatable because people do have personal issues going on in their lives outside of work, and they can be small things or big things, or indeed, as I've discovered, many people have a loved one with dementia or had a loved one with dementia. And I think being able to humanise dementia in a way that is done with compassion and empathy, which is certainly how Fiona has portrayed this series of stories.
Shortly after Louise and Moose's love story first appeared in The Australian, Moose's behaviour changed again. He was confused, oscillating between moments of clarity and disorientation, and began to lash out physically. On one particularly distressing occasion, police were called to assist in restraining Moose, who's a big guy and still has the hallmarks of a lifelong ocean swimmer, so a sedative could be administered by paramedics.
It was my birthday, so I remember the day quite clearly, and bearing in mind that normally if I was there, I could calm him down, but we'd gone past that point, and then it was a point of no return. And so when the police turned up, I apologised and I said, "I'm sorry that you're here. He's just a big clumsy teddy bear." And there wasn't much small talk, but They threw him on the ground and they started yelling at him to follow their orders. And I was screaming in my head to say to Moose, just fight back. You've done nothing wrong. This is not your fault. And eventually the paramedic was able to put the needle in his arm. And afterwards, he was chemically and physically restrained on a stretcher and was sent to hospital.
Moose bounced between hospital and the home where he was living for a while before he was admitted to the Prince of Wales Hospital in Sydney, where Louise is by his side.
And the last hospital admission, it was evident that something wasn't quite right. And there was a decision made by a complex care team that it might be worthwhile doing some further investigation into what might be causing this.
An MRI and lumbar puncture performed by Moose's team of expert carers revealed definitively a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease. Previously, doctors thought Moose's diagnosis could be alcohol-related, a product of his days as a brilliant advertising creative. Now, Louise and Moose's big circle of loved ones know for sure that wasn't the case.
And I guess it just provides that sense of clarity. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't change how he's being treated. It just provides a bit more of an explanation about why and how this has occurred. In Moose's case, he's of the 55% of which most dementias are genetic or they're caused by, not by external environmental factors. So it was inevitable.
And how does that feel for you as the person who is, you said, I guess, you're a decision maker in his care, but you're also his partner. This is the man that you love. How does that feel to, as you say, get that clarity?
I'm completely heartbroken. It's absolutely devastating. And I guess it's been a long journey with Craig and this insidious disease. I feel like his life has been robbed. And I've said this before, but I can't look back and I can't look forward. I'm just in the moment. I'm here to advocate and care for Craig.
On that point, you wrote in your op-ed for The Australian that it is a privilege to care for somebody that you love. It's something that, as you said, most of us will do at some point in our lives, noting the growing prevalence of dementia in the community. Can you elaborate on what you mean by that? What's that experience been like for you?
There's something about caring for someone that you deeply love, that they let you in to their inner sanctum. They allow you to walk the path with them. And in Moose's case, it's been quite a joyful ride. We've had many laughs along the way. I've seen how he responds to my mum, his friends and loved ones. It's really special to experience.
Coming up, a rallying cry for prevention of the nation's biggest killer. This year, The Australian's Louise Bryant did something she's never done before. She took a volunteer day.
My volunteer day was with Neuroscience Australia, which is the preeminent institute for brain health and research. It's the brain bank, essentially. And Professor Matthew Kiernan, who's the institute's director, had read Fiona Harari's story. And they reached out to me and they asked me if I would be willing to talk at their town hall because they wanted to hear about a lived experience with dementia. And they told me that it was really vital to their research. And I was very honoured to speak. And of course, I didn't hesitate. And I realised then that it was some way I could give back and provide some insights that might be useful.
Louise's work with Neura has inspired a special series on dementia called Think Again. Published across The Australian and news.com.au from today, the series will explore the impact of dementia, which is now the leading cause of death in Australia, delve into the science behind the disease, and provide vital steps all Australians can take to lower their risk of developing dementia or delay its onset.
After I spoke at the town hall, I was warned about a looming health crisis, which is dementia. A dementia tsunami is coming. Australia is at the epicentre of this tsunami. We have responsibility to lead, and I felt quite compelled that we can use our platforms, our megaphone, if you like, to really share an awareness campaign around dementia. It's not all doom and gloom. There is hope. But I think what's really important is the word prevention. And all of our neuroscientists and researchers tell us this, that prevention, it can actually prevent or delay dementia. We know from the Lancet report that there are 14 modifiable behaviours that can potentially prevent or delay dementia. And a lot of them are often linked to your heart health or other things. And when you go to your GP and you are worried about your cancer risk or your heart health, or that you smoke or you drink too much or you're not exercising, often those conversations will lead into diabetes or cholesterol or heart or stroke. Rarely do they lead into conversation around dementia or indeed brain health. And I think this campaign will absolutely support those living with dementia, support those who are caring for a loved one with dementia, but also encourage Australians from 40 plus to go to their GP and have that conversation around brain health.
The latest data available suggests 1 million Australians will be diagnosed with dementia by 2065. Advocates are calling for decisive action by state and federal governments to ensure our healthcare system is prepared to support people living with dementia as well as their loved ones, like Louise.
Our health system views dementia as an aged care problem. It's after 65 years old, that's when those dementia supports kick in. We didn't have any support when Moose was diagnosed. He was 46 years old, and now Moose is currently at Prince of Wales and receiving excellent care from the incredible medical staff there. However, it's not an easy straight line.
Louise Bryant is the managing editor of News Corp Australia's prestige titles. You can read stories and watch videos about lived experiences with dementia at thinkagaindementia.com.au. Plus, you can play brain games designed to strengthen your brain health. And join our subscribers anytime at theaustralian.com.au.